Hello everybody and welcome back to the video. I'm your host Oti and we are back with yet another Hetty Feather review, and it's the season 5 finale. And dear lord, brace yourselves ladies and gents, because this is going to be a ride into hell. So at the end of the last episode, Hetty declared it her mission to go and find Ambrose and stop him, who we find out goes by many other names and has robbed various other posh houses before. Also, Sheila Skywalker returned in Jake's Skywalker-esque fashion, and now if we've watched the Peaky Blinders film, Tommy Jake Skywalker Shelby. Back at Calendar Hall, Lady Grenford has the Dawn Star valuated by not Rick Harrison, but a Peaky Blinder. And just at the last moment, when he returns with a jeweller, in comes Rosamund, impromptuly returning, which forces Lady Grenford to go into panic mode. Of course, whilst this is all happening, Gideon, Jack, Ashok, and Lizzie sneak out and follow Ambrose, who then, after physically assaulting his daughter almost, gets into the carriage, which is set to return to Calendar Hall, and they are chased down by the crew. So, let us proceed with Series 5, Episode 10. Hetty's opening monologue states that her mission is to return to Calendar Hall, bring Ambrose to justice, and clear her name. So she then spots a milk cart, which... As this is Hetty, what do you think she would do? She'd hitch a ride on it, of course. Remember Stanley from the first few seasons? Stanley! We then cut to Calendar Hall to see Lady Grenford walk, and a shadow moves past just in time for Hetty to say, "Danger lurks in the shadows." Rosamund can't find Grenford, who seems to be packing her bag in panic mode, as she is the other criminal that Hetty is on about at this point. The others also seem to have ran away. And then we have another glimpse of Hetty on the dairy wagon. Blimey, sounds like a Top Gear intro. Tonight on Hetty Feather, we return to Calendar Hall. Ambrose is brought to justice, and Hammond clears his name. After the title sequence, Rosamund asks Edwin who those blokes were earlier, and he echoes Grenford's lie that she which, if you don't know, was that the visitors were from Scotland Yard. Told him. While they talk about Ambrose starting the fire in the barn, he points out the obvious to make Hetty look more guilty, and then Rosamund regrets hiring him and trusting Lady Grenford, and is almost astonished that even she was fooled before Constance. So they head off to the nursery, where Constance will be told a bedtime story. Lady Grenford also lurks and hides when Agnes comes delivering Edwin's tea, and apparently it's too early to tell Rosamund about the other guys going out. The crew come back and cannot find Agnes in the kitchen until they explore Ambrose's room, and she shows up behind to report that Ambrose has returned and Flo is scared of him. Then Hetty also returns in the kitchen after a creepy tense moment and got in by the back door. The bell rings and it's Rosamund who can't finish the story to find Lady Grenford, only to find that she is locked in and suspects that this is Agnes. She tries the other door, and it is revealed that the person who locked the door was, surprise, surprise, Flo. Hetty explains to everyone about Ambrose's history of robbing the rich. They hear the bell and then move out without a lamp. Meanwhile, Lady Grenford avoids getting spotted by Edwin, who is just trailing along. He then hears a door close and then concernedly calls out, and Flo moves back into the shadows. He then moves into the library to hear Lady Grenford being held hostage on the other side of the secret door. Ambrose interrogates her as to where the jewel is as they taunt one another by debating about the innocence of Flo and Hetty, before we are informed of the law about Lady Grenford's son and husband dying unmourned. We hear Edwin calling for help and Rosamond begging Agnes to open the door. So she, Gideon and Lizzie tend to Rosamond while Jack, Hetty and Ashok get Edwin. Lady Grenford calls for help as the voices are heard, and Ambrose doubles down on threats towards the family. The unlocking door team can't seem to find a key, and they logically conclude that Flo has locked them in, as if stating the obvious. And after some reassurance, the door beside them opens and they fearfully investigate. The Get Lady Grenford team can't open the secret door as well, pointing out the obvious. So Gideon and Jack are going to go to the folly end of the tunnel where they're going to jump Ambrose by surprise, or at least hope to do so. Which leaves Hetty to try and open the door using a blade-like object. Actually, this is pretty clever because this very same method is applied in my latest Doctor Who story in the third part, which is on Quotev. There's been 4 written works and 1 stop motion on the channel, so definitely do check those out if you have the time. Meanwhile, Lizzie and Agnes go into the room where the door was open and they find Flo. The conversation is slightly overheard, and she willingly gives them the key as it's for their own good. What? Yeah, because locking them in the nursery is totally safe, isn't it, guys? And Lady Grenford has the Dawn Star. Flo locks them in because she knows what Ambrose is capable of, and the baby also cries. So the ladies let Rosamond and Constance out. Outside, Ambrose hasn't shown up, so Jack attempts to open the tunnel in the folly, but that's locked as well. Ambrose now holds Grenford's neck. Eventually, Grenford starts feeling unwell for real this time and tells him that it's in the library which she is taken to. Jack still struggles to open the hatch in the folly, so he heads back inside. Hetty almost opens the secret door until Flo comes in and wishes to deal with Ambrose herself. Him and Grenford come out to hear Flo try and convince him to leave, but not until he gets what he wants. Grenford gets the jewel out of a vase to a whooshy evil noise. Ambrose then snatches it back and uses Lizzie as a means to get him out. Even this disgusts Grenford, who is pushed to the floor.
Oh, you bitch!
He's about to leave, but Flo refuses to join him. So he runs away and is chased out of Calendar Hall until he's taken down by Gideon, who forcibly searches his pockets. Hetty then claims the Dawn Star and Ambrose is taken into Calendar Hall, then to be confronted by Rosamond. He then talks about how get this! He talks about how he does what he does because he wanted to give his adopted daughter a life after his diverse wife number 9 had died. Why? That's not a valid excuse to rob someone's house. Oh, we should all feel sorry for villains now, should we? Let's feel sorry for the worst of the worst. Oh, don't worry, guys. Shockwave only does what he does because he wanted to give Megatron a future. For the love of God, stop vilifying fathers. What the fuck is wrong with these people? What do these writers think they're going to accomplish with this shit? And then Flo says that all she ever wanted was to feel safety as Ambrose is taken to the cellar. Ashok is then given the Dawn Star and thanks everybody, but is hesitant to thank Flo as he rightfully should. He probably should have confronted her at that moment and said, I don't believe a word you're saying. Yay, everything's resolved. Happiness, yay. Celebration. Later, Hetty then confronts Lady Grenford, so that she may know the truth of her plan. You see, Ambrose knew that she was vulnerable, and she had no choice to keep the jewel for herself, as Rosamund thankfully states. She didn't want any of this to happen. Well, that's not what she said last season. And eventually we learned that Grenford saw the Dawn Star as a solution to her problems instead of going to Brighton. And then she plays the sympathy victim card and admits that the jewel belongs to Ashok and attempts to apologise, which Hetty protests. But Rosamund offered you a place in Brighton. It was even up for discussion. But hey, at least Lady Grenford did something Lady Grenfordy and took the easy way out. Ashok is ready to leave and everybody says goodbye to him. Hetty and Jack then go for a walk and Flo admits that it was her who locked them in the nursery. And then is welcomed with open arms because she had no other choice. Right, so you have somebody who locks you in your nursery, a child with her mother, for safety purposes apparently, and you welcome them with open arms. This is why I hate the calendars so much. You know, keeping true to her character from the last season. Later on, as if we forgot that Agnes and Gideon were a couple. Well, they were a couple, then they weren't, and now they're going to be again. Agnes then compliments Gideon's heroism capturing Ambrose, and to her, he is a hero. Before an awkward love pause. And then at the end, Hetty tells Jack that, oh, guess what? We forgot all about the New York stuff. Hetty then tells Jack that she's not going to go to New York, and this is where she belongs before giving Jack her finished book, which has an ending. Jack says that she'd make a great writer, and we then hear the conclusional monologue, which says that adventures are exciting as Ambrose is locked up. This series has tested them as we see Lady Grenford. Then we see Jake Sheila Walker commanding Aldi Bottomley, as that friendship has brought them together. And now Hetty wants to be a strong woman writer, and the only person that can do that, as she posts the letter, is her.
Yeah, go ahead, dear.
Oh wait, Henry Footer doesn't exist. We've searched all our directory and we can't find him. Not even in our digital ID data centre, which requires a lot of water. What to think about this finale? The worst finale of them all. Oh, no. Wait till Series 6. I've got something extra special planned for that, my friend. Why did they have to fuck up Ambrose and Flo by making them all sympathy villains? Just simply robbing a posh home to make a world for your adopted daughter is absolutely pathetic. That shouldn't be a motive for robbery. Your motive could be because Ambrose hates posh people. Or Ambrose does it for the love of it, because he's a villain, because he's a robber, he's a thief. Or at least he could have something against the calendars for something that they did in the past. I mean, the calendars appear to be on nearly everyone's hit list, including, but not least, Robert Grenford, Lady Grenford, Brodie, Fake News Charlie, Matron Bottomley. That there's a whole host of people that could hate the calendars. They could at least have a bad reputation with people for some reason. You know? That's what you could have done with Ambrose. But no, he had to try and make a future for his adopted daughter. Because we're the BBC! And then, of course, yeah, just a subtle reminder of the other story arcs. Just to say, oh, hi, do you remember that this happened in the midst of all the, Ambrose drama? And then we got on to a review of the series. It had potential, i.e. Ambrose and Flo were ruined by being turned into sympathy villains. I said earlier in my rant, they should have really done something because the calendars are quite hated. I mean, hell, even Tommy Shelby could be after the calendars at this point. For the Dawn Star mystery, it was clever in some elements, and I do admit some aspects were quite clever. I.e. Hetty trying to open the secret door with a blade, and with the location of the Dawn Star, and all the clues being to do with the painting of Montague calendar. I thought that was pretty clever. Again, Ambrose had so much potential to him. Like, his scenes with Lady Grenford were fantastic because they tried to outwit one another. Lady Grenford has an equal to her. Someone who can rival her in wit and intelligence and logic. And yet, they let that potential go to waste. They both know things about one another, which makes them have an interesting dynamic. But again, why did they have to screw up Ambrose and Flo? I didn't mind the Lizzie and Flo mini feud, and it also had a nice ripple effect after she got locked in the cellar, and it's because of that they found the tunnel. And then after a whole episode trying to chisel away, they eventually come across the vault, the doorway, then they had to find the key, then they found the Dawn Star. And then we have the character of Ashok. Now, I found him annoying at first because he was a demanding prince. But in the end, I ended up quite liking him later on because he got more based. And then he didn't know who to trust between Lady Grenford and Hetty. I think that was pretty clever as well, because this was the Lady Grenford that we saw in the last series. And then we've got the New York stuff. I mean, it was there. I mean, hey, at least they had relationship drama this time, but I don't know. I don't like all that relationship stuff. It's not for me. And then at the ending scene with Sheila commanding Albie Bottomley, I think when Hetty talked about, friendships, we could have had a little cameo from Harriet to remind us of the New York stuff, as well as a mini setup for the final series, which, bloody hell, it's coming ever closer with this channel. When I mean ever closer, it will probably be coming out Christmas this year. Oh yeah, we got the Christmas episodes as well. In spring. But now it's time for Cook's comments. It looks like Ambrose may be my new apprentice. He has the potential of the dark side, if he deepens his voice and sounds less like a whining imp. Honestly, in threatening Grenford, it was like hearing a mouse threaten a rat. With this full-blown conclusion, though, blown full out of proportion, looks like every bugger's hung up the bunting to say, yay, we stopped the villain for this season, yay, let's dance round the fire and celebrate our Ovis victory. Sweet Yorkshire tea. I don't get why Ambrose would be able to do this, just rob all them posh houses just to provide a future for his adopted daughter. I bet that Ambrose has gone all over. What's the chances that Flo's long-lost mother could actually be the woman off of Bridgerton? I don't know who the characters are, but I just know that Martha Jones's mother's in it. And I shall be more than bereft if I were to find out that any one off Hetty Feather were in bloody Bridgerton of all things. And then locking Rosamond and Constance in nursery? What the hell's this? Agenda 2030? Or are they trying to warn us about something that's going to happen? And now that this series has come to an end, well, I don't know if I shall be glad to see the back of it or not. Why do you say that, Sunshine? I say that because the Dawn Star thing was alright. I didn't know the calendars had more secrets to them than they knew about. I mean, I knew that Rosamund had an illegitimate son, but with the Dawn Star takes it up to next level. Even so, Hetty had to go to see the old butler, which didn't help at all. Well, it slightly helped, but this series has most certainly been one plot twist after the other. Just when you thought that they had found out the Dawn Star, there is another obstacle in the way. And when they found the Dawn Star, an element I liked was when Lady Grenford showed up with Ambrose and Flo. And even when they worked together, they didn't trust one another. That is what made them great characters until the end. Believe me, when you are a villain and you've had a face turn and then become a villain again, you need a good reason to do so, like I did. Not the fact that, oh, I want to make a future for my daughter. Well, my favourite episode was the first one. And why am I not surprised in the least? Because I'm in it. But the aftermath, well, hey, I don't think that were good. To the ladies like me. It was also pretty humorous as well. Especially when my imaginary date with Emily Calendar turns into an absolute shit show once Ashok arrives. And I'm forced out. And then the aftermath, well, that was somewhat alright. But the send-off was absolutely dreadful. What about you, Kreia? My favourite episode was when we find out that Sheila is in a workhouse. The most satisfying episode of them all. When you find out that your greatest enemy has made a mistake. Oh my God! I know you're meant to be concerned about an ex of mine, but not in that way. Well, she did leave her job because she pretended to be somebody that she is not, as well as doing a get ready with me TikTok. How about you, Scion? My favourite episode was the one where Hetty and Jack have that New York debacle, where we actually get a mention of Harriet. And although, yes, it did feel as though this was irrelevant, it did give us an insight into relationship conflict, a real relationship conflict, i.e. if you're invited to work abroad and long distance. I'm just glad she weren't going on the Titanic. And plus we see more of Gideon and Agnes's possible relationship occur. What about you, Brenda? I don't have one. Personally, I thought there were elements of this series that were a bit of a letdown. I like the episode with all the suspense of the Dawn Star mystery, because we don't know anything that's going on until Hetty and Edwin find out the clue, follow the clues, and then solve the mystery in the end. Like an episode of Scooby-Doo. Now then, I think that ends this episode of Method in Making. And that ends this review. So, thank you all for watching, and I will see you all later. Ta-ra!